So CSIRO, Commonwealth Science and Industrial Research Organisation, obviously you're a name very well known in Australia and synonymous with innovation. Can you share more about what are the specific programs that CSIRO is thinking about in ASEAN?
So some of the things that we're already doing here are around food, so aquaculture, food provenance, but also health, but health driven by nutrition. We know that some big challenges for the world, and Asia in particular, are things like diabetes, obesity and cancer. We've been developing foods that can address or reduce the likelihood of you getting those diseases.
Right. And obviously that's a big theme here in ASEAN, this growth in the consuming class, which forecast is expected to double by 2030. And obviously that creates a huge amount of demand for different goods, particularly food. Are there particular technologies that you think are exciting that could be explored and where CSIRO could play a role in ASEAN?
Yeah, so on the very sort of cutting edge of business, there's genetic technology and digital technology, that intersection of two fields that we think is the key to food provenance. So ensuring that foods aren't replaced with copies or counterfeits, and also guaranteeing quality of food. And I think more broadly, the area of genetics and digital in other markets, like more broadly in agriculture, how do we grow more with less?
It's interesting, agriculture gets mentioned a lot in ASEAN, and obviously there's countries like Vietnam and Indonesia where big potential growth opportunities for aquaculture, but also disease management has been a bit of an issue historically. Can you share a bit about what CSIRO is thinking about in that particular area?
Yeah, so CSIRO years ago developed the world's first model of the human gut. It's actually a physical model, a machine, if you like, that replicates how we digest food. And that led to some really deep insights around nutrition. But one of the spin-offs of that is Novak prawn feed, which is a completely bio-friendly prawn feed, unlike traditional prawn feed, which has a lot of fish waste in it. So it's a much more sustainable way to grow prawns, and the prawns grow faster and more nutritious as a result. And we are piloting that throughout ASEAN at the moment.
In terms of the strengths that CSIRO can bring from Asia to the innovation ecosystem in ASEAN, and obviously Singapore is very different from other countries in Southeast Asia, but what are the kind of things you think could be the real complementarities that could be brought together from the two regions?
So ASEAN is the future. People in ASEAN will have to deal with challenges around growth, population, sustainability, probably sooner than other parts of the planet. And so for CSIRO, it's a great opportunity to really see the future and be part of helping ASEAN create that future and manage that future. We have enormous capability in areas like environmental sustainability, prediction of climate change and adaptation to climate change, but also how do we deal with having less water than we have had in the past and still manage to grow more crops with less water. So I think the combination, we have shared challenges. We also have different perspectives. You bring together different perspectives, and that's the compass to navigate innovation.
And what are the partnerships you think will be crucial in bringing this all together?
So innovation is too hard to do on your own anymore. It requires too many disciplines, too many insights. So anything that brings people together with those different perspectives, so that's one, really key. Second is to actually be here. If we can persuade more of our potential customers in ASEAN and partners to let us put our people inside their organisations, that's absolutely the best way for us to really learn, by immersing ourselves in the organisation and really feeling and living the challenge. That's the best way for us to learn, where we can have those insights. And third, because of this intersection of people and perspectives, having them together, I think, increases the chances that we get breakthrough innovation, because they're working together on a common problem.
There's a lot of talk in ASEAN about technology leapfrogging. And the fact that many firms in the region may have historically been laggards in technology, but are catching up very quickly and sometimes bypassing intermediate steps. We'd love to get your perspective on how you're seeing that, and where CSIRO can play a role in supporting the growth of those kind of firms.
Yeah, so an area we're working on in Australia is trying to make Australia the healthiest nation on earth. It's literally a moonshot. And the key to that is prevention rather than cure. But Australia is a relatively small market. So being in a market that can leapfrog and working to solve those problems is a better place for us to start to generate solutions that can then come back and be deployed in Australia. In other words, I think you'll see those challenges first, and we want to be working on the challenges first. We want to get ahead of the curve. ASEAN can really do that because of this effect that you said of leapfrogging of technology or leapfrogging of traditional legacy issues.
So we already talked about the food and a bit about health. Are there other opportunities that you see in Southeast Asia which you think could be ripe for potential collaboration?
Yeah, so artificial intelligence is a big one, and its impact on society. But more broadly, the notion of using automation and AI to free people up from fairly mundane tasks and move them into areas where, for example, in the past, we sent people out in boats to get data. Now we send out robot sailboats, literally robot sail drones, and they collect the data. And we move the people that were doing the collection into the analysis, and now the people are working on getting insight from the data. So there's a deluge of data. Data is a commodity, but the insight, that's the real gold. So we want our people working on the gold, not the commodity.
So ASEAN as a whole is now the world's 5th largest economy and obviously a big opportunity for Australian business. But we also know that Australian business is probably punching below its weight at the moment in terms of what it's doing in the region. That said, a survey that AusCham ASEAN did showed that Australian businesses are incredibly excited about growing into the region. We'd love to get your perspective of where can Australian business and CSIRO best partner to capture some of these opportunities in Southeast Asia?
So I think that phenomena that you talk about is largely because of the multinational companies, the MNCs that are here, because they've actually firsthand tasted the benefits of innovation, and particularly science-driven innovation. So they're believers. And I think Australian companies working with them, they'll kind of start to become believers too. And that's one of the shifts we need in our own country, in Australia, to get more business, investing in breakthrough innovation and breakthrough science. We know that investment has been declining consistently since the GFC, and that's not a sustainable trend for us. So I think that's a big impact, big benefit Australia can get from being here. And how CSIRO can help. CSIRO's strategy is very much about being an innovation catalyst for Australia. So we've created a number of programs, the ON program, which build a bridge from university lab bench to industry customer, and take amazing breakthrough science, but build prototypes, put things into beta, put things into one of our 3,000 customers around the world to more rapidly get take up and adoption of that science. So I think that's a big benefit that we can, if you like, return to ASEAN in exchange for the knowledge and insight that we get from ASEAN.
Energy demand growth is a big topic in ASEAN, and the forecasts are that energy demand will grow quicker in ASEAN than even in China over the next 15 years. What are the opportunities, do you think, in the energy space that CSIRO could play a role in ASEAN?
Yeah, so we had a very deliberate strategic shift in CSIRO back in 2015 to shift away from solar and batteries and double and then triple down on hydrogen energy. You may have read about the breakthrough we had with the hydrogen cracker, but we think that's an amazing opportunity for Australia to provide clean, green fuel, hydrogen fuel, or ammonia, and our cracker converts the two seamlessly together. So literally bottling sunshine from Australia and shipping it up to ASEAN for absolutely carbon neutral fuel source.
Plastic waste in the ocean is a big topic here in Southeast Asia, and many ASEAN member states rank highly in terms of the total amount of marine debris linked to plastics in the ocean. What's the role that CSIRO could be playing in this space to help address the challenge?
Yeah, so about a third of the world's polymers are created from a process called raft, and it's a unique system. It's like genetics for plastics or polymers. So these Australian banknotes are made from that. They're in 60 countries around the world. That team is now looking at can we design truly biodegradable packaging to solve this problem? Because 70% of plastics ends up in the world's oceans. That's not a sustainable situation for the world. So for us, it's another moonshot that I think we have the capability to address, but doing it in partnership, because you can't develop a solution like that without deep engagement with the customers who've actually got to use it.
There's been a lot of talk about the fact that even though Silicon Valley has been a dominant engine for innovation for many years, that there's now a role for countries in Asia to potentially become their own digital hubs. I'd love to get your perspective on that. And what do you see as the potential collaboration between ASEAN and Australia to help realise that vision?
Yeah, so we created a new digital group in CSIRO. It's the largest dedicated data science group in the Southern Hemisphere, and it's called Data 61. And they're trying to understand how to make more use of all of our data, from environmental, agricultural, also health data, in order to make breakthrough insights from that data and use machine learning to figure out how to make processes better. One of the early breakthroughs we had was literally the first scientific proof of data saving lives in a hospital. And it's a predictive tool that our health group rolled out in Queensland hospitals. Now, it saves the hospitals millions of dollars a year, but more importantly, more people are alive through the hospital system as a result. We think that's something we could very easily roll out in ASEAN, again, in collaboration with the healthcare systems of